Accenture was able to make a correlation between trust and revenue. Accenture created what it calls a Strategy Competitive Agility Index. It scored 7,000 companies on multiple criteria, including growth, profitability, sustainability, and trust. What was observed is that there had been a decline in trust across more than half of the companies that Accenture was tracking. The survey found that 54% of the companies examined experienced a material drop in trust at some point during the 2 year review period from 2016 to 2018. Accenture found that across the sample, companies that experienced a drop in trust, there was also a drop in company revenue. So much so that in all, when conservatively calculated, the combined dip in revenues exceeded $180 billion. dollars. One of the most essential components of a strong team is trust. But what is trust, really? And if we could actually understand what it is, would that help us create more trust on our team? Wouldn't it be great if you never had to wonder whether your teammates were all in and 100% committed and you could just focus on the work itself? In this lesson, we'll address these four questions. What is trust? How do you build trust? Is trust scientific? Does work from home affect trust? Trust is a word that tends to mean different things to different people. When the word trust is used in an organization, it is not uncommon for each person in the room to have their own definition of what trust means and how an organization can demonstrate trust. That's why it's so important for organizations to establish a common language of trust. This common language puts teammates on the same page when discussing trust issues, giving them a shared understanding and supporting a constructive discussion about how to improve teamwork. We all know that trust is a critical part of any relationship, but most people believe that trust is made or broken by big events. Research has shown, however, that multiple small actions every day contribute more to the building or destruction of trust in an organization than a major betrayal does. How does this apply to you? It means you should be consistent in everything you do, not just the big decisions, but the day to day interactions as well. Demonstrating consistency in your communication and your actions will go a long ways towards building trusting relationship with others. Trust is built through consistent, exchangeable interactions, the collaborative exchange of skills, abilities, information, purpose, expectations, and agreements. We're talking about consistent and collaborative exchange, folks. If you want to get some trust, you have to work at it. And don't think that trust is a one time thing. You got to give it all to get it. It's reciprocal, like your favorite cousin's handshake or a hug from your grandma. You want to make sure that it starts with them because you know they know how to do it right. Trust is created incrementally, step by step, piece by piece. That means you got to show up every single time and give 100% of your best effort. I've got three keys to building trust with your team. Think about the last time you were in a relationship. If it was a good one, chances are there was a moment early on when you just knew the other person understood you. There's nothing like being understood by another human being. It makes you feel seen and appreciated. And when the person doing the understanding is someone you're interested in, that feeling can be downright intoxicating. But how does this translate to your professional life? How do you make your employees feel seen and appreciated? The answer is honesty. The most important thing to remember when building trust with your team is to be honest with your thoughts and intentions and to be genuinely you, not some version of yourself you think they want. Show them who you are, and they'll show you who they are. Step two in the three-part process is building trust to solicit, understand, and appreciate candid feedback. You can go to your teammates, your peers, your followers, your family. Ask for feedback. Yes, it may hurt. It's supposed to. If you want to grow, you're going to have to get used to being uncomfortable. Once you've gotten the feedback you need from others, take some time on your own to be honest with yourself about what feels good and what doesn't in your life and work. That's how you make progress towards change, being honest with yourself. Once you've done the two-step feedback process, honestly soliciting feedback from others and honestly evaluating your own situation, you'll be in a place where you can begin to build trust. Despite what we all think and what opinions we have formulated, most people are not idiots. In this age of information where nothing is off limits, people are smarter than we give them credit for. They can tell if we're not genuine and detect fakes if we're not careful. We've all dealt with the issue of trust in one form or another, and it must be earned. You can't just say that you are trustworthy, you have to prove it, and prove it in an empathetic and meaningful way. Empathy is using understanding to put yourself in another person's shoes and see things from their vantage point. It's about being aware of others and striving for a deep understanding of beliefs, actions, motivations, and intentions. When you have empathy for your audience, you create a bond that sets the stage for trust. Building trust isn't easy, but it isn't impossible either. If you want to build stronger relationships with your audience while aligning it with your brand values, use empathy to put your words into action. While trust is not something we can all agree on or even see eye to eye on, it's clear that human beings have an innate ability to trust, and in some ways, to expect others to trust us. One part of this has to do with the chemical hormone oxytocin. Oxytocin is released into our bloodstream when we share feel good or empathetic actions with each other. These are things like smiling, laughing, hugging, touching hands, making direct eye contact, spending time with people who look like family members, like spouses, children, and even watching videos of cute animals. While these things happen naturally for most of us, some people are more inclined to trust others after performing these actions. Oxytocin is a fascinating hormone that affects humans in a variety of ways. Oxytocin is often referred to as the bonding agent, and study shows that it acts as a glue to help us bond emotionally to others. It also makes us more generous and even increases our sense of trust towards others. But that's not all it does. It has two other effects on human beings. First, it reduces the anxiety we naturally have when we're around other people. Second, it motivates us to cooperate with and help each other. These are some pretty amazing things for one little hormone to do. And they're the reason that trust plays such an important role in our lives. Whether it's our relationships with friends, family, or our teammates at work, trust is the glue that holds any relationship together. There are two other hormones that help us to feel good about working with people. Those two chemicals are dopamine and endorphins. Let's talk about dopamine first. Dopamine is released into our bloodstream when we experience a suspenseful moment, like waiting for the big bonus check right after that record breaking year. When dopamine is released into your system, it creates focus, boosts motivation, and memory, and generally makes it feel good to collaborate and connect with others. So imagine how important this is for humans in general. When we consider how much of our history has been tied to collaborating and connecting with each other for our survival. In fact, we've evolved to enjoy working together and creating bonds because it makes us feel good. This is why we love to strategize, plan, and execute with others. Last of the three is endorphins. Did you know that laughing does the body good? It's true. When you laugh, your body releases endorphins, the natural painkillers that are released into the bloodstream when we laugh or experience something funny. Endorphins help with creativity and make us feel more relaxed and focused. Think yellows from the disc profile. Yellow energy brings joyful laughter to the team. We all know that feeling. You're sitting around the conference room, sharing work updates with your team, and your colleague cracks a joke. Everyone laughs. The mood in the room shifts. The energy feels lighter and brighter. That's because laughter is contagious. But not all hormones are good. As a matter of fact, there are two hormones that can break down trust. Let's just say those two monsters in the monster machine were full of these next two chemicals. I'm certainly glad we have the know how in that monster machine to exchange the bad chemicals for the good ones. First, adrenaline. When we feel attacked, our bodies release adrenaline. It pushes us into survival mode, giving us the energy and quick thinking we need to face a dangerous situation. If you've ever been in a car accident, you probably experienced a rush of adrenaline coming from your body. The problem is that adrenaline can be released by more than just a physical threat of danger. If you feel like your trust has been broken by someone, if it's not just your emotions that are affected, your body reacts to feeling with a surge of adrenaline as well. The second bad chemical hormone is cortisol. It's the stress hormone that impacts moods, creates fear, and crushes motivation. You know what else it crushes? It crushes trust. This is especially true in the workplace. Cortisol inhibits your ability to think critically and makes you more likely to act on those negative emotions, which means that you will be less able to listen to others, even when they are right, and more likely to do things that destroy trust, like lash out or play the blame game. If you want a team that is unified and works well together, it's essential that you create an environment where cortisol doesn't have free reign. The best way to do this is by creating a culture of trust. Trusting your teammates is about more than just believing that they are competent. It's about knowing their values and respecting them as humans who have lives outside of work. When people feel trusted, they respond with trust in return. Trust is a complicated thing. You probably trust your best friend with your deepest, most personal secrets. But how does this work with strangers or other people we really don't know that well, like maybe a new employee? We intuitively play a game of should I trust you and how much do you trust me? When you interact with strangers, your brain creates its own algorithm based on your prior experiences using information exuded by the other person, not you. This data can be appearance, body language, behavioral traits. Based on how your brain processes the information, you determine if you're going to trust the other person or not. And if other people are in the room watching this episode, they are collecting data and building their own algorithm. And it's not exactly the same algorithm that you created. As soon as we begin to trust a stranger and transact with positive deposits in each other's memory bank, we build trust incrementally. Recall from earlier, trust is built through consistent, exchangeable interactions, the collaborative exchange of skills, abilities, information, purpose, expectations, and agreements. These are your deposits into someone's trust bank. Trust continues to build in this manner, but it's also depleted in a similar manner. Negative transactions, also known as withdrawals from the trust bank, deplete trust as quickly or quicker when we receive negative data from the other person. The amount of trust depleted is calculated by the data receptor, not the data provider. So be careful. Your actions could be quite costly and could even break the bank. Ever since the pandemic hit in March of 2020, more and more employees are working from home. This has led to employees to feel as though they were not to be trusted since they are not in the office working. First, out of sight, out of mind. A lack of seeing translates to a lack of trust. Second, micromanaging. Both phenomena are detrimental to the trust building process. In the first case, out of sight, out of mind, you tend to keep asking yourself, is the employee really working? Which creates doubt. Insert doubt, and you soon have an unrealistic expectation of what the person can contribute. Unrealistic expectations can lead to micromanagement. The second phenomenon is micromanaging, which typically happens when an employer doesn't feel comfortable with how much work is being done or how it is being done. Micromanagement is one of the quickest ways to kill trust between employees and management, and it also kills productivity. How can we build trust, especially when we don't see each other working in person? Here are a few ideas. First, try to have some sort of video conference with each employee every week. The results of Google's Project Oxygen have demonstrated that character traits such as setting aside time for one on one meetings, solving difficulties as a team, and showing an interest in the personal lives of employees are more important than pure drive or technical skills when it comes to predicting success. Second, make sure that you're communicating clearly and often with your employees. This will help avoid micromanaging and will help them to feel trusted. Give them the tools they need to be successful and make sure they know how to use those tools too. Don't be afraid to ask for updates on what they're working on, but make sure you check in with them in a positive way, not in a demanding tone. Third, when you're working remotely, it's easy to get wrapped up in your own work without any idea what's going on elsewhere in your team or in the organization. Make sure everyone has frequent opportunities to share and listen to updates so they feel like they are part of the team. And this also ensures that the team values of communication, collaboration, and listening are being used. Fourth, create hope. As a manager, your job is to give your team hope. Hope gives people a compelling reason to get out of bed in the morning and come and show up for work. And by agreeing to be the manager in any organization, you have signed a deal with your team. You're going to be their leader. You have made a commitment to them. Now you need to live up to it. As hard as it may believe, what you do as a manager matters. The work that you and your team do should matter to your customers and clients. Otherwise, they would not be willing to pay for it. And if the work you are doing doesn't matter or add value to the lives of the people who pay for it, why would anybody want to do it? Trust is an intangible and difficult concept to define. It's even more difficult to measure. But when the concept of happiness is thrown into the mix, well, things just get downright complicated. Recent research has shown that there is a direct connection between trust and happiness. In 2012, the Sustainable Development Solutions Network, known as SDSN, created a model and analyzed data from leading experts in economics, neuroscience, and national statistics to see how well being can be used to assess national progress. In recent days, America was dealt a disheartening news about their place among the world's happiest nations. The U.S. News and World Report looked at the data and found that America has never been among the world's happiest nations. But now the country has experienced a drain in trust as well. And we all know how important trust is. We need to start trusting each other more because it'll make us happier. I have read a study that states happier people are better at reading emotions and understanding social relationships. This is true because if you're happy, you can understand what people are saying and doing. If you do not trust someone, then you will not be able to understand them or the situation. We also need to start trusting each other more because it will make us wealthier. A study from New York University has found that even a slight improvement in trust levels can have a dramatic effect on economic growth rates. I believe that this is true for everyone because if you have trust in someone, then they will help you with anything, no matter what the cost may be. So the next time you're on a team in which you feel like nobody trusts each other, or on a team where people aren't doing the things they committed to do, try to remember that trust is not just something that happens by itself. It's something we have to build consciously, intentionally, and strategically. This can help you make better choices about how to spend your time as a part of your team.